I'm Jamie, and my research project is about exploring the world of San Francisco in the Disney animation film Big Hero 6. So, for those who haven't watched the movie, Big Hero 6, to summarize its plot in a nutshell, is about a robotics prodigy who's 14 years old named Hiro Hamada, who lives in the city of San Francisco, a fictional fusion of San Francisco and Tokyo. And so what happens is that his older brother ends up dying in an accident. And his brother was also a robotics genius, and he created Baymax, which is a soft robotic healthcare companion. So Hiro, together with Baymax, end up becoming high-tech heroes together with their other science friends to help save the city of San Francisco against the villain that killed Dashi. So, you might be wondering, why study this movie? Well, Big Hero 6 is a film of firsts. It's the first Disney superhero film following their acquisition of Marvel. It's the first Disney Asian American lead, and it also has the first use of new animation technologies that Disney pioneered. And for those reasons, I think that it's a novel film, and it is also one that has never been academically studied since it was only released in 2014. So then comes the question of why look at hybridity in the world of Big Hero 6? Well, first off, the entire idea of San Francisco is a hybrid itself. And as Paul Felix, production designer, said, the big statement of his film is to blend ideas that would normally seem to be at odds with each other. San Francisco, Hiro being Asian American, and Baymax being a human robot all kind of represent new hybrids. And I have a personal interest in that because I'm somewhat of a hybrid myself, because I don't fit one sort of racial category. And I think this has broader implications for the world we live in, given that we live in an era of constant cultural and cross-cultural exchange for globalization. So I had all of these elements I was thinking about with the film, and I was trying to decide what exactly in the film am I going to look at besides hybridity, like how am I going to assert my thoughts about hybridity. So I decided it might be interesting to look at the world of San Francisco, so the culture, but also very specifically how the world is even constructed, from the architecture of the buildings to how it's shot. The setting is a huge part of the film. The directors call it almost a character, and it's also a critically acclaimed animation model of the city, winning several VEX awards in Hollywood. And most importantly, there's the ideological implications of world construction. The idea that in animation, you have to make everything from the grain of a wood to how to make somebody look Asian, American, without drawing too much from stereotypes of both. So that's why I thought, okay, I'm going to look at how the film kind of represents a new world that sheds light on current trends in our society, particularly globalization. So this led to my research question. How are American and Japanese elements hybridized in San Francisco? And to what effect? What illumination does Big Hero 6 offer us for envisioning the 21st century city of invention and multicultural metropolis? And both of these terms come from terms that were used to describe San Francisco in promotional text and material for the movie. This second research question was actually inspired by a paper I read, which is exploring another futuristic fusion city in the sci-fi film Blade Runner, and was examining how that depiction of Hong Kong actually would shed greater insight on Hong Kong as a society, going out of its post-colonial stage and struggling with cultural identity. So this is what led me to kind of think about how Japan and America and the intertwining between the two might be interesting to look at in terms of where we're heading to for the future of all countries and all racial identities. So my approach is a close reading of a media text, and I'm situated in the discipline of film studies. But however, I'm also using terms from cultural theory and literary analysis because film studies is so diverse and interdisciplinary. So most of this would be qualitative, and as you can see here, I've referenced several film studies texts that I've been introduced to. And what will happen is I'm basically trying to look at information or things to notice in each of these modes of analysis to then pull together a critical reading of the text. So these, in my final paper, will not be separated, but will actually be put together. So they're kind of like lenses or glasses I'm putting on to try and come up with one picture of what the film says about our society. So I'm using the formalist lens, which is looking at film language, the way the shot is actually composed, the same way kind of syntax and grammar makes a sentence and meaning. historical, which is kind of the context, not just the text of the film, and looking at how it was produced and the culture. And then ideological, which is kind of a broad ideas of how does film in general create ideas about society, and particularly racial identity, hybridity, technology. So these are some key critical terms. I have many because I am referencing terms from cultural theory analysis, and film studies itself. But I think the most important one right now is hybridity. And I'm still trying to find the right definition for this because it has many loaded implications even in cultural theory. But right now I'm defining it as any mixing of Eastern and Western culture. And the following terms you can read for yourself, but most of it is derived from film studies and media texts. So my working thesis. Hybridity is celebrated in Disney's animated film Big Hero 6 through the postmodern pastiche of San Francisco's mise-en-scène. Although American culture and values serve as the base for both a computer-generated city and the diegesis, American culture does not dominate. Instead, as opposed to Orientalist texts, the humanist mashup aesthetic of Big Hero 6 is a love letter to Japan from America that emphasizes the dissolution of binary oppositions and racial identity and technology, while also being self-reflexive of the limits of its own portrayal of Japanese culture. The effect is a highly realistic yet fictional fusion city that is at once familiar and alien, and neither Japanese nor American. In light of today's globalization, the world of San Francisco can be read as a symbolic home for third culture kids, and as an allegory for the successful digital mediation of new hybridized racial identities and technologies. So those are a lot of terms, and it's quite lengthy right now. It is still a working thesis. But the gist of it is essentially that hybridity is represented positively in Big Hero 6, and it's represented in a way so that you can't even really connect to the elements anymore with their original cultural context. So it's not Japanese, it's not American, it's something new altogether. And it celebrates this newness, is what I'm trying to kind of say here. And the things in quotes are what the director and other filmmakers have said about the film that worked on Big Hero 6. Oh, and third culture kids, I'm using it right now to kind of mean being raised in a culture that's not entirely your own, either it was not your parents, but I'm still going to refine that term in particular because it's more of a pop culture term rather than an accepted sociology term. So my findings and evidence. As I said before, I'm drawing on these three different modes of analysis to kind of look at any and all information about the text itself, Big Hero 6, or the context surrounding Big Hero 6. In the end, I will not separate these, but I'll put these together to support the main claims of my thesis. One, that it celebrates hybridity positively, that it's not Orientalist text, and so on and so forth. The main evidence that I found for each is listed here. For formalists, looking at the animation technology, cinematography, and the mise-en-scène as a whole, and looking at how that creates the realistic fusion city, and what that says for about how the real world, or how we look at the real world, since in Big Hero 6 it's all constructed. The historical is looking at everything from Disney's marketing and box office success in Japan to kind of the alternate universe that Disney presents in Big Hero 6, and also looking at globalization, Japan's growing importance. So bringing in those elements and saying, okay, so how does the context of the film say more about how we were able to portray the city? I mean, ideological is kind of putting it all together with broad generalizations. I'm looking at the animation history of Disney and Pixar and how with other films such as Toy Story or with Finding Nemo, they've anthropomorphized the other. So Finding Nemo, Dory, and Nemo, they make you feel about things that aren't human, that are inanimate. So here I'm kind of looking at how the city feels real, and Hero and everyone else in the film also feel real, and what that says about our society today. And then finally, ideological, I'm also looking throughout the paper at filmmakers' comments on multiculturalism and how they may have explicitly tried to make the film carry certain messages about what that should be. So all in all, the significance of my study is that I'm hoping to explore the intersections of identity, technology, culture, and commercialism through a well-formed critical analysis of this film, which has not yet been studied. I also believe it's culture work. We live in an era where there's so much information and entertainment around us that we need to help make sense of the vast breadth of media, and we need to empower viewers and advocate for a more critical study of media representations and their impact. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you.